Welcome to a Splatoon 2 news roundup video on the channel. Let's just get right into the video. Recently in Japan, there was a Splatoon exhibition at Tower Records, and at that exhibition, we got some concept art for the Octolings, and it does show both the female and male versions of Agent 8 with the afro hairstyle. That concept art definitely does look really cool. I definitely do like the female Agent 8 with the afro as well as the male version as well. Apparently art director for Splatoon, Inoue, wanted the afro hairstyle to be the default hairstyle for the boy. Apparently he would even be personally fine if the afro hairstyle was the only hairstyle available for the Octoling boy. And we got that information in a Famitsu interview with Nogami and Inoue to celebrate Splatoon 2 turning a year old. We got some cool information from that interview, so this video will be rounding up all of that information that we did get in the Famitsu interview with Nogami and Inoue. So apparently Nintendo did plan Octolings for Splatoon 2 since the start of development for the game, but they didn't want Octolings to be suddenly playable without an explanation. They thought it would be confusing for the players if Octolings suddenly appeared. They wanted to find a way that could both explain why Octolings are appearing and get the player to empathise with the Octolings, which became the result of the Octo expansion. Now, in a previous interview with Nogami that I did cover on the channel, it did sound like Nintendo did plan playable Octolings for the first game on the Wii U. So it seems like playable Octolings and having an explanation for why Octolings are appearing in Inkopolis has been a long-term goal for the dev team. The Octolings that you do fight against in Octo Canyon, which is the single player for Splatoon 2, are slightly older than Agent 8. Only elite Octoling girls can become the Octoling troopers that you do come up against in the single player for Splatoon 2. That is a nice cool little lore detail there. Once again, we did get confirmation that the players' characters are around about 14 years old. We did get another interview where Nogami did say that the Inklings that we do play as are around about the peak teenage years of 14 to 16. So that definitely does fit in with that information. The events of Octo Canyon and Octo Expansion happen around about the same time. As squids are easy going, they didn't notice that the Octolings are coming. It's nice to know where the DLC fits in terms of the timeline and the rest of the events that do happen in Splatoon 2. Now here is one of the most interesting things to come out of this interview. Inoue and Nogami discussed how any plot sequences going forward will take into account the Octolings. So if we do get any more DLC for Splatoon 2, the Octolings will feature, and it does sound like for the next game Octolings will feature as well. Maybe this confirms that Octolings will be playable in Splatoon 3 from the get-go, and we don't have to wait for playable Octolings in the next game. They will feature heavily in the next story. That's what it sounds like to me, but that is definitely really interesting. But I guess not too surprising. Once again, we got confirmation that Agent 4 and Agent 8 are two separate people. I'm sure 90% of the community has realised that by now, but that is just there for people that aren't so sure about whether Agent 4 and Agent 8 are the same person or not. Splatoon 2 was in development alongside updates for the first game on the Wii U. The Octo expansion was in development alongside Splatoon 2 updates as well. The people who worked on Octo Canyon also worked on the level design for the Octo expansion. Since they didn't want to overcomplicate Octo Canyon with too many different objectives, they cut some of those ideas and put them into the Octo expansion. We also knew that some of the people that did design the shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild also worked on Octo expansion and designed some of the levels in Octo expansion as well. So it sounds like the team behind the Octo expansion is a mix of people that did work on the single player for Splatoon 2 and a mix of people that did work on the shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that mixture of talent definitely led into a DLC experience that was definitely top notch. The gameplay design and the level design for the Octo expansion, it was just so good. Seriously, it was just so good. If you haven't played all of the 80 levels yet, then make sure you do, just because seriously you will have a lot of fun playing the DLC if you do go through all of the 80 levels. Seriously, it is worth $20. It is worth the £18 that I did pay for the Octo expansion. Now here is an interesting detail. There were originally 150 ideas for the Octo expansion, but they cut that down to 80 levels. I'm just wondering, just because that is under a half of the amount of levels that didn't make its way to the DLC, I'm wondering whether those ideas can be used in future DLC, or maybe those ideas were cut from the DLC because they weren't good enough. It's interesting to see whether they will use any of those ideas again in the future of the series, but that is definitely interesting how they did come up with pretty much 150 ideas, but they only used around about a half of that in the DLC. But yeah, that was definitely interesting to learn about. Ink and Watch Station was quite popular amongst the staff. Gold Power Station was found to be quite challenging amongst the staff as well, and that definitely isn't surprising. I know some people found that level quite easy, but obviously I did upload a video where I did struggle on that stage, and that did take me around about more than an hour to beat that station. So yeah, it's nice to know that some of the staff that did design that level also struggled at beating that level as well. Now in a future video coming up on the channel, I will be talking about the hidden lore details within the Octo expansion DLC. But what we'll be doing now is giving you a taste of what will be coming soon on the channel, just because we got some hidden lore details from the interview with Nogami with Famitsu. Nogami confirms that Agent 8 doesn't respawn and does die during the escape phase. In multiplayer battles and other test stations, if you die, you get resurrected at the respawn points, but during the escape phase, you simply rewind to a time where Agent A is still alive. She doesn't get resurrected, or he, depending on what gender you do choose for Agent 8, but pretty much you don't get resurrected. You just simply rewind to a time where Agent A is still alive if you do choose to continue with your play session and try to get further on than where you did die. According to Nogami, Sea Cucumber isn't a bad guy and is just doing his job. Now we got some details about the music in the game as well. The Chirpy Chips song Blitz It is the band trying to reach new horizons with their music. The band took a hiatus between Splatoon and Splatoon 2, which is why we only saw Chirpy Chips with the 3.0 update that we did get. I do believe that was in December, but I could be wrong. I do believe we got Chirpy Chips at the same time when we got Makomar and new hairstyles for the Inklings, but I could be wrong on that. We could have got it much later than that, but that is just what I remember happening. I think that sort of stuff did happen around about the same time in December last year. Wet Floor and Bottom Feeders made their debut in Splatoon 2 in order to make the music feel different to the first game. With the 3.0 update, they did decide to strike a balance between Splatoon and Splatoon 2's music, and that is why they did decide to bring back a band from the first game, and of course that is Chirpy Chips. The band who created Now or Never, Squid Squad, disbanded between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. Each member wanted to pursue their solo careers and work with other artists. There is a possibility though that Squid Squad will reform in the future, and I will definitely love to see that happen in the future with a brand new update. The bands of the previous game have left their mark on Inkopolis culture. Wet Floor's guitarist girl was influenced by Squid Squad, while Ink Theory's jazz tunes were influenced by High Tide era. Art director Inoue has a draft of the Octo expansion as a manga, and it is 30 pages long. I would love to see that get released. I think that would be really cool if that did happen. No doubt that would just be a Japanese exclusive though, but I would definitely love to see that happen. Game director Amano wanted to do a fight in the style of the Octo expansion's final boss since the first game. I'm really glad that Amano did come up with that idea. I really did enjoy the final boss and the phases leading up to the final boss in the Octo expansion. It is my favourite boss in the series so far. Once again, we got confirmation that all online related functionality within the game will require a Switch Online membership, so you will have to pay to carry on playing multiplayer and Salmon Run, but software and gear updates will still be free, as well as single player and local multiplayer. We got confirmation from Nogame that he has no say in terms of the Inkling moveset for Smash Bros. Ultimate. That is up to Sakurai and his development team from Bandai Namco and his company Sora, who I do believe is working on Smash Bros. Ultimate. And finally, we got a tease for more Salmon Run content. They still wish to do something with Salmon Run and ask us to wait around. I think that is teasing that we will be getting something for Salmon Run soon, whether it is just another rotation of all Grisco weapons or whether it will be a brand new stage for Salmon Run in the rotation. I hope it is the latter. I hope we do get a brand new Salmon Run stage, but I think Nogame is teasing that something will be coming soon for Salmon Run, and that has definitely got me excited. Of course, I will keep you guys up to date on any information we get in terms of brand new content for Salmon Run, but that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on everything that I've talked about in the comment section below. We got a wide range of interesting details in there, from that Nogami interview with Famitsu to celebrate the game turning a year old. We got some interesting details about the development in terms of the game itself and the DLC. We got some interesting details about the music and some interesting details about the lore as well. And yeah, like what I said, that is just a small teaser in terms of the hidden lore details. I will be talking more about that in a future video soon on the channel, but that is it for this video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one that I do make.